Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a picture that looks like this turn into a finished product like this with a simple sky replacement, light leak, and lens flare effect. So the first thing that you notice is that I replaced the sky. So I'm going to go over and I just went online and grabbed this random photo. I'm going to drop it in here. I really liked the sky in this one and I think it would really complement my picture that I took as well. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger just so that I have a little bit room to play with. When you're ready, press enter to drop it right on, and if you ever need to move it, just hold Command T and you'll be able to transform that yet again. So the next thing obviously is, well, there's a problem here. It's in front of my picture. Well, how am I going to do that? Well, one of the things that I can do is I just decided to mask the object. So we just click this button down here, it's the mask tool, and I brought up this white background. If I wanted to invert that to see what it looked like without any of it, I would click Command I. I'm on a Mac, and it would take away the entire thing. So now I'm going to replace it, put it back, and I'm going to go over here to my brush tool, or you can click B on your keyboard and use the bracket tools to make it bigger and smaller really quickly. It's perfect. I love it. So down over here is the selection between white and black. Basically, white means that if you would be drawing it right now, you'd be drawing in some of it. I'm going to click X to switch those, and I'm going to begin drawing, which is actually erasing the image and creating the mask. You can see the black over here as kind of your preview of what the mask's like. So I'm going to basically take away every part of the image that I don't want to be clouded. So I'm going to bring it up here and so on. So now I'm beginning to see him. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom in and sort of use my mask tool to outline him really nicely. And if you go a little bit too much, you can always go back by clicking X and redo or redraw in your sky. So right now I'm just going to do that. I'm probably just going to leave it as a rough outline so I won't get it too perfect. But you can still see a kind of tiny glow around him. I'm going to leave it for now. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is, obviously the sky is a different color than it used to be, so I'm going to have to change that up a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer, and I did that by holding Alt, Command, Shift, and clicking N. So I created a new layer here, and what I want to do is I really want to match the color of the sky, how it was originally. It's more of a bluish tint. And so what I'm going to do is, see over here on the left side, it's a little bit more gray. I'm literally just going to go in and select a kind of grayish blue color on the spectrum here. Let's see what I like. This one here. Yeah, something about like that. It's not going to be perfect because I'm doing this in a time restraint, but here we go. So now the one that's selected is the wrong one. I click X to switch them up in this bottom corner here, and I'm literally just going to draw on that color. Another thing you can do as well is you also can click the Alt tool, and if you have a place that you're trying to get a certain color out of, you can just click down on that and it'll give it right there. So I mean, maybe even that's a better color to draw on with, so I might click X and draw a little bit with that as well. Give it a little bit of a combination of the two, a little more cloudy feel. So now I have a giant brush in my sky. It doesn't look like clouds at all. What am I going to do with it? Well, over here is the blend mode. I'm going to take it from normal and go to, I usually play with soft light, hard light, or vivid light, whatever I choose. I'm going to click soft light right now, and see, it's a little bit too blue for me. So I'm just going to play with the opacity, bring it down. I think my last one I had it around 45%. So I'm going to do something like that. Now it looks like the sky is matching a little bit better. You can see around him, it doesn't look perfect, but I'm just, you can go in there and fine tune it yourself when you want to. So that's what it looks like before, and that's what it looks like after. Just a little bit more blue to blend that sort of thing together. All right, so next, as you saw in the finished product, let's go over to that one. You can see that there's a kind of a pink glow around here. I really like this pink-blue color scheme. It really looks nice, especially in very light situations or high contrast situations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my gradient tool. So down here, we'll click this, go up to gradient, and it gives me a blue gradient by default. I'm going to change this to a pinkish color. I'm going to do kind of more of a hotter pink, and then I can play with the opacity later. I'm going to do that, go in here and do a radial one, and now I can kind of bring it over here and see how big I want it. All right, so I do want a little bit of leak onto my ocean here. Make it a little bit bigger, and I can always mask it, play with the opacity later. Don't take it for right now. So I will do something like that. Now let's see what it looks like if I just use sort of like more of a soft light. So I am getting a little bit of a leak here. I don't like this purple on the cloud, but I do really like this sort of purpley pink on the water. So what I'm going to do is it automatically gives you a mask if you click the gradient tool. So I'm just going to go into that. I have the brush tool already selected. If not, you click B. Make sure your black is selected, not your white. And you go in here and you can just kind of eliminate that pink. Maybe I do like it just on these clouds a little bit. So I clicked X on my keyboard, switched it to the white one, and then I began painting it in. So here you can see that I have a little bit of black up and over here. And maybe, you know, I don't want it all the way out this far, and I can kind of do that. And the default brush tool actually gives a pretty nice feathering to it, so that it sort of, you know, doesn't cut it off at a harsh point. So now say I like something like that, you know, with the pink on the water and everything, and maybe I want it a little bit brighter here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to I'm going to click one of these adjustments and do the brightness tool. And so I'm going to adjust the brightness to how I want. Obviously it adjusts the entirety of the picture right now, but say I wanted something like that. We're just going to look in the area that we want here. So now I'm going to exit out of this, and actually what I'm going to do is, while having this mask selected here, which is showing that the entire thing is made bright, I'm going to do Command I and invert that. So now nothing is shown, and you might say, oh, what happened to it? Well, I'm actually going to draw it in here, use the same mask tool again, use the same brush tool again, make sure the white is selected so you're drawing it in, and you can kind of just draw in wherever you want that brightness to kind of be super loud. So I'm just using the bracket tools again to make them larger and smaller, and I want maybe I just want it completely blown out. And actually now I'm looking at it, I really don't like this little brown cloud here, the grayish blue cloud here, so I think that is part of the original image actually. So what I'm going to do is, when I bring in this sort of storm cloud thing, I'm actually going to go into the mask and let's just take that out here. Nice. Okay, so that's a little bit better. I really like this light leak. It's a little bit brighter. I'm just going to exaggerate it for you guys sitting at home and watching. So now you got this nice light leak here. Now, on the left side, it's just very high contrast from bright to dark, and I really like that, but I still think, you know, maybe we'll get a little J.J. Abrams here and do a small lens flare. So let's go over to, actually, I think that there's a filter here. We go up to filter. I'm just going to select, make sure to have your original image selected with the bright part. So this is the original image, the background here. I'm going to go up to filter, and I'm going to go down to render, and I believe here there should be a lens flare there. Perfect. And it's on my other screen. I'll bring this window over for you guys. There you go. So now look, it makes the light source right here. So this is basically where the light source is, and you can move it around however you want and put the lens flare kind of wherever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the lens flare here, so it kind of, you know, flares across here on sort of this side. And you can switch here to a 35 prime, 105 movie, whatever. And so the picture I took was, and the best lens flare in my opinion, is the 50 to 300 millimeter zoom. So I'm going to do that, and then you can adjust the brightness kind of however you want, so that, you know, of course that's a little blown out and crazy. I'm going to adjust the brightness probably down a bit so it's not too harsh. I just want a subtle lens flare to kind of spice things up a bit. So I put mine around 64%. You just play with it and adjust how you want there. So I'm going to click OK. And now it rendered in my lens flare. Beautiful. So it has kind of, you know, it vanishes on this side of it, and it has that sort of look. And, you know, and I might go in here and touch this up a little bit more, of course, before I export. But that's basically the tutorial on how to get a light leak a very solid sky replacement as well as a lens flare, and sort of just bring an entire image together. So thanks for watching. I'm Burk Pro, and see you later.